The Brooklyn Nets put together one of the best big threes we've ever seen. And in the Eastern Conference semifinals against the Milwaukee Bucks, they ended up with something more like a 1.5. Kyrie Irving goes out with the ankle injury. James Harden misses half the series with a hamstring injury, a grade 2 issue that he was really gutting out there. And they lose in Game 7, 115-111. Joining me now from Locked On Nets, Adam Armbrecht. And Adam, this is a team that was the favorites, according to BetOnline, going into the playoffs. The favorites as recently as about a week ago. And yet this is how their season ends. So my question to you is, what is the biggest question facing the Nets this offseason? Because we saw when they had their guys healthy, they were as good as anyone in basketball.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest disappointment around the health that ended up really coming apart. Coming into this year, I think that was the question. Can all three of these guys stay healthy? Maybe Harden's removed from that because he had been such an iron horse over the course of his career. But now it becomes, we didn't get the sample size in the playoffs with this supporting cast and full health of the big three. Is there something we're missing? I think obviously you're still going to point to offensive rebounding, getting a little bit more size. That was going to be paramount at some point along the way in these playoffs. I think the Nets will still look to do that, but really it just means, can these guys get healthy, come back strong? I think you'll find the betting odds put them right back as the favorites to come out of the East and likely be favored to win the championship next year.
Is there anything to, relying as much on Blake Griffin as the Nets did and going, hey, we already have a big three that has some injury concerns. Kevin Durant played 48 minutes. He played every minute of Game 7 and every minute of Game 5. Would have probably played every minute of Game 6 had it not been for the fact that the Bucks had pulled away late. So, some of these supporting cast guys, how sustainable is that productivity moving forward? How good can Blake Griffin be, a year from now when he's got all of these playoff miles now logged on that body?
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, right? Because even though the stars had their injuries come up later in the season, go back and think, the Nets went out and picked up LaMarcus Aldridge. He ends up retiring due to health concerns. When you talk about getting really far above expectations on Blake Griffin, you throw Jeff Green into that mix as well as being a guy that has his contract coming up. You even talk about a player like Bruce Brown, who they got from Detroit on what feels like an epic steal, also up for contract. So you don't want to over-evaluate what you got from guys around superstars. I think that the Nets need to take that healthy perspective of, yes, we got good results from what we had, and also we are a championship caliber team. We know that high caliber veterans will want to come and play here. This was kind of a, some of the parts pulling off the scrap heap in a lot of ways during the course of this season. This offseason now, you've at least set that benchmark of what other players can look to Brooklyn and see they're capable of accomplishing and want to be a part of that. Because no, you don't want Kevin Durant playing every single minute of every single playoff game. The idea was to have enough star power and then complementary pieces. It ended up becoming 1.5 stars, as he said, and then demanding more of guys that you never wanted to put into those roles in a second round playoff series.